All right, welcome to another episode of Medicine Mondays. I am yours truly, Dr. Barry Pierre, your favorite board certified internist, host of Medicine Mondays, as well as the Real Physician Reacts. That's our live YouTube show that we do every Thursday. So make sure you're subscribed to that. And this week, again, I am coming off a bundle of energy, a natural high. I'm actually coming off the second annual conference of the Autism Black Conference, which was absolutely phenomenal. Now, again, and I'm not saying that because I'm an organizer of the conference, right? Like, it was just a phenomenal experience. Last year, when we did it the first time and we didn't know what to expect, of course, we had our, some bugs and some jitters. Like, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do it as well the second time. And this time just really kind of knocked it out the park and confirmed that this is something that we need to do every single year. Like, in fact, as I'm recording this, my wife is actually still in the middle of her conference. I think she's about to get ready soon to pretty much do her keynote ending as well. And that kind of leads to the topic of discussion today. I was able to kind of wiggle my way in to give a keynote presentation on the topic of Black fathers raising autistic children. And of course, I want to make sure we kind of personalize this as much as possible, right? For those who may not know, my oldest daughter and my son is autistic. And my oldest daughter, Malia, is actually the origin of autism in Black. It was going through her journey together and recognizing that if the position that we're in, as me being a physician, my wife being a therapist, if we found it hard, if we found it difficult, if we found the many hurdles that were in front of us out there in our position, then there was no way that we could just kind of sit idly by and not see how we can help people behind us, right? And that was really the motivating factor, right, to kind of start Autism in Black. So my keynote presentation, again, I got the end, like I even got the end the first day, right? Like, it was just absolutely amazing. And I'm gonna have Maria on the show to kind of give her recap as well, especially when she's able to kind of decompress and kind of re-energize from everything that's gone on this weekend. So my presentation was on the aspect of Black fathers raising autistic children. Why? Because one thing I always like to do, right, or I like to personalize, things that are happening around me, right? When I'm talking about high blood pressure, when I'm talking about diabetes, cholesterol, when I'm talking about these medical related diseases, I always want to know, well, how does it affect the Black community? So here I was, as a parent and husband of my wife's autistic, my children are autistic. I wanted to see what was the perspective of the Black fathers, understanding that in general, Black fathers raising children isn't a very well-versed, well-researched topic. So I say, like, if in general it's not that well searched or it's not that well versed, or more importantly, there's a lot of negative stigma associated with it, I can only imagine what I would find, or more importantly, not find when looking at the topic of raising autistic children. And of course, it did not disappoint me. Like, the research studies were far and few between. And I remember it kind of brought me back to when I first received my daughter's diagnosis, and realized that there was not that much information out there for me to kind of peruse and kind of go by. And I was almost having to deal with going by what was considered kind of the standard level of terminology, which unfortunately, or just information out there, which unfortunately I would find out that unfortunately does not really fit the criteria, especially for people in the Black community with autism, right? It just not well. It just does not fit well. The prototype for what was out there research-wise was not the prototype for my community. So going through these, again, 7+ years or so, working, alongside Maria, behind Maria, in the shadows, it's always been very interesting to me to kind of see not only the progression of Maria, but progression of my children as well. But I didn't even realize it until I had to do the keynote, like just watching what my progression was. And when I started doing the research, and I'll actually include her research data in the show notes. When I started doing my research on just who was looking at Black fathers raising autistic children, I realized it wasn't many people. The research was very few and far between. And then in doing so, realized that, like, all right, yeah, I need to do more. Like, yes, I can be the number one cheerleader. I can support, but I have to do more and put myself out there. And when I tell you the wonderful reception that the presentation got, we were actually chatting with someone. I don't want to put his name out there because I don't know if you want his name out there. But just chatting through, like, because he was a part of the attendees who invited. In fact, I think his wife, bought the ticket. But I guess once they saw that I was speaking and what I was speaking on, they're like, "Oh, nah, I need you to watch this video as well, this presentation as well." And he was just so energized and saying, like, all right, we need to do more. How can we get together? And that was the energy that I wanted to experience, because I remember kind of growing through this transition and understanding that this community is big, but unfortunately, because it's so few and far between, or we're not putting ourselves out there, no one seems to know. And I think that's one thing that we've experienced, especially over these past 2 years, that like the Black autistic community is amazing and they're huge, and everyone wants to help everyone out there, but we've been so kind of dispersed and put out together that you wouldn't even know how together we can be. And like I already told him that. And you know me, I like to speak things in existence, right? I already told him that the next year's conference, we definitely will have a panel just on Black fathers and their experience, because it was so moving. Because obviously, especially with the crowd that my wife caters to, is primarily women, right? I'd probably say, and again, which again, not surprising, right? It's primarily women. But you could tell, and I could hear in their stories, like, man, like my husband, I wish my husband was with me as close as you are. Like, I wish my husband did this, or like, why doesn't my husband want to do more? Like, why doesn't my child's father want to be involved more? And really hearing the perspective from me was very eye-opening, right? And I told people, like, we already know, especially when we talk about just men, right? We're very hard to open up. One of the things that we know that we're very hard to open up. I've said here on the past podcast that, like, 2 reasons why men would typically come see me in their office is that if they had a family member who essentially dragged them there, or there was some like sexual dysfunction related issue that they needed to get taken care of. Those were like the top 2 reasons that they came to see me in the office. So when I talk about some of the reasons why men are typically, especially Black fathers, are more distant in raising their children and having that connection with their spouse, including depression, including feeling guilty, including, and more importantly, my presentation was titled "Seeing Through the Clouds." This inability to kind of see what lies ahead for their child. And because of that fear of not knowing, that, they put their kind of wall between and say, like, all right, I'll just be over here and you kind of do what you do, which typically, unfortunately, burdens the spouse. And it was just phenomenal to see just the energy after that presentation, and with the community conference that we built, with just people asking questions afterwards, people going to the discussion board asking questions, right? It was just absolutely phenomenal experience to embark in. So I wanted to, again, and obviously I've kind of touched on this kind of sporadically throughout the podcast or throughout the Medicine Mondays, just my onus of the position that I'm in as a physician who not only just takes care of people, but right, obviously as a father with autistic children, right, and making sure that we kind of wave the flag and we yell out loud, and so other people who look like me can say, hey, like, look how hype Dr. Berry is when he talks about his daughter, his autistic daughter, right? Look how hype he is, right, when he talks about his autistic son, right? Look how hype, just so that any barriers, any fears, any trepidation could be broken. Like, and I'm just so excited really to see what's to come of this. Right. And again, I put this challenge out there, and I record it, right, so people can hold me accountable. I already said that, again, we are going to be having a Black fathers panel on the conference next year, right? We're going to be having support groups and building just community of just Black fathers, right? Like we can be selfish, right? Shout out to us, right? Like we're going to be selfish and making sure that we're assessing our needs, our concerns, having the discussions that we need to have moving forward. And as I was, and this year we were amazingly fortunate enough not only to have a panel of autistic individuals, but also a panel of parents raising autistic individuals, right? And being able to kind of see their point of views and be able to kind of see their issues, their concerns, hear their stories, right? Listen and watch. You know, again, it was very emotional. Some people were crying, right? And seeing that emotion, but they knew that they were able to cry because the safe space that we built, right? It was just a phenomenal feat. Like I said, I'm not going to tell too much because again, when we get Maria on the podcast, we'll definitely pick her brain on what she thought from her perspective. But I just love the energy, and again, I just want, and that's why I wanted to make sure I titled it, Black Father Raising Autistic Children, right? Because I want it to be known. I want it to. It does not need to be a secret, right? There does not need to be any shame. There does not need to be any guilt. Life is still good, right? Like there's, and in fact, especially when I saw one of the studies, right? And I'll talk about it. I saw one of the studies. It's in the description where they talked about how Black fathers not only felt higher stress, both physically and emotionally, but they actually felt less life satisfaction because they had an autistic child, right? Like, and that just kind of broke my heart because I couldn't understand like me being less satisfied with life because my child happened to be autistic, right? It just blew me away. But again, it still, again, let me know like, all right, yeah, these are definitely thoughts that people are having to this day, and they can have them, right? Because they don't have an outlet to go to and say, man, like, yeah, it's tough, it's rough, it's hurting, I'm sad. Like they don't have that outlet. So we're gonna make sure, especially with Autism and Black, we're gonna make sure that we continue to open up, continue to allow communities in that ilk to kind of evolve from that sphere. Because I think, like, especially after this conference and after that presentation and seeing just amazing feedback, I know it's what needed really for us to kind of get to greater pastures, right? Especially as Black men raising autistic children. So again, this is not a very long not a long episode this week, right? Because I'm still kind of going off the natural high of the conference. In fact, like as I speak, I'm going to get ready to be moderating another session, but I just wanted to drop this episode while I had a quick amount of time during the session. So again, y'all continue to be blessed. I want to thank everyone who was a participant. The speakers are phenomenal. I want to thank everyone who attended the conference. I want to thank everyone who shared the video or an ad when they saw people mentioning a conference, or when they would say, hey, like, I think this conference is for you. Like, I want to thank everyone, because this is a journey that just doesn't start with just two people in the comfort of their home, right? This is a journey that starts here, but kind of goes worldwide. So you guys be blessed. Have a great day, and I'm gonna see you guys next week.